Your son needs you to come home right now. That was the message waiting for me when my plane landed in Lyon. It wasn't from Jessica, my wife. It was from my mother. Her voice, strained and cracked in a way I'd never heard, instantly told me something was terribly wrong. My name is Robert, and at 37 I was flying high, literally and figuratively. I'm a regional sales director for Veltri Dynamics, an industrial equipment company based in Portland, Oregon. I'd been in France for 5 days, and that very morning, I'd closed the deal of a lifetime, the contract that would secure our European expansion. The moment I heard my mother's voice, everything went on hold. I called her back immediately. She was sobbing so hard that her words were a garbled mess. "Mom, what happened? Is it Ethan? Is he hurt?" I managed to ask, my own heart hammering against my ribs. "Robert," she finally gasped, "Jessica said you were in a car accident. She said you are dead." Everything stopped. The noise of the airport, the announcements, the rushing crowds, it all faded into silence. I stood there frozen, trying to process the horrifying words. "Mom, I'm fine. I'm standing right here." "What are you talking about?" She couldn't answer, she just kept crying. I had to tell her to breathe, to listen to my voice, to understand that I was alive. It took several excruciating minutes before she could speak again. "She posted it on Facebook," my mother whispered. "Jessica posted that you died in a crash in France. Everyone saw it. Everyone thinks you're gone." My hands were shaking as I opened Facebook on my phone. The post was there, written just 3 hours earlier. Jessica had described a terrible accident on a rural road outside Lyon, claiming I had died instantly. She even included details about how the French authorities had contacted her. The post had over 200 comments. Friends, co-workers, distant relatives, they were all offering condolences, all mourning me. I scrolled through the messages, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. My own father had written a tribute. My college roommate said he couldn't believe it. My boss at Veltri Dynamics had commented on what a profound loss this was for the company. I called Jessica. She answered on the first ring. "Oh my God, Robert, you're alive," she said, and then she laughed. "I'm so glad you saw it. I was going to tell you before you saw it yourself." My voice was a raw whisper. "What the hell did you just do?" "It was a prank, babe. Just a joke," she chirped. "I wanted to see how people would react. You have to admit it's kind of funny." I couldn't speak. I stood in the middle of a foreign airport staring at my phone, listening to my wife laugh about announcing my death to the world. "Robert, are you there?" I hung up. Jessica and I had been married for 8 years. We met in Seattle when I was fresh out of college. She was a graphic designer, funny, spontaneous, and a little wild. I liked that about her back then. She made life feel less serious. But over the years, her playfulness started to curdle. Her pranks became crueler, going too far. She once told my mother we were getting divorced just to see her reaction. Another time, she posted a fake pregnancy announcement on social media, letting people congratulate us for a day before revealing it was a joke. I always brushed it off, telling myself she was just being playful. We had a son, Ethan, a quiet, smart 5-year-old who looked just like me. I worked long hours to provide for them. Jessica stayed home with Ethan, though she spent most of her time on her phone or shopping online. I never complained. I thought that was what marriage was. You made sacrifices, you kept going. But this was different. This wasn't a joke. It was cruelty. I spent the next hour calling people, my father, my brother, my boss. I had to explain over and over that I was alive and that Jessica had fabricated the entire story. Some were relieved, some were utterly confused, and a few were angry. My father, usually so voluble, barely said a word before hanging up. Jessica called 6 more times that evening. I ignored everyone. She sent a dozen text messages, most of them defensive. She said I was overreacting and needed to lighten up. Her last message said she had deleted the post and that everything was fine now. But everything was not fine. Before she deleted it, I looked at the comments again. People had poured their hearts out. They had shared memories, they had grieved, and Jessica had watched it all unfold like it was a piece of entertainment. I thought about Ethan. I thought about what kind of person does something like this. What kind of mother? What kind of wife? I made a decision that night. I was not going home. I called my lawyer, Gregory, who had handled some contract work for me. I told him the entire story. He listened quietly, then said, "Robert, this is more than just a bad joke. This is psychological abuse. If you are serious about protecting yourself and your son, we need to document everything. I was serious. I booked a new hotel room in Lyon and didn't tell Jessica or anyone else where I was. I needed time to think, to plan. I knew I wasn't going back to her. Maybe not ever. 2 days passed. Jessica's calls and voicemails, which started angry, dissolved into her crying. She accused me of abandoning her and Ethan, saying I was the one being cruel. I wasn't cruel. I was protecting myself. On the 3rd day, Gregory called. He had reviewed everything: the Facebook posts, the messages, the clear pattern of disturbing behavior. "We have a strong case if you want to pursue custody of Ethan," he said. "But Robert, this is going to be ugly." "She will fight you, and if you disappear now, it might hurt your case." "What do you mean, disappear?" "You need to be strategic. If you stay away too long without contact, she could claim abandonment. But if you go back, you're walking into a situation where she has control." I thought about Ethan, about the life he would have with his mother, and what she might do to him one day when she was bored or craved attention. "I want full custody," I said. "Then you need to come back." But not yet. Let her panic. Let her realize what she did. Document everything, every message, every call, every lie she tells. And when the time is right, we move. I stayed in France for another week, extending my hotel reservation and telling Veltri Dynamics I needed personal time for a family emergency. They didn't pry. Jessica posted on Facebook again, this time claiming I had abandoned my family after a misunderstanding, painting herself as the victim. Some people believed her. Others started to question the story. My mother called, calmer but still hurt, asking when I would return. My father called once and said only 4 words: "Do what you have to do." I saved every message, every voicemail, every social media post. Gregory was right. I needed evidence, and Jessica was providing it. On the 8th day, a message arrived that changed everything. It was from Jessica's sister, Lauren. She said Jessica had told their entire family that I had been having an affair in France and had abandoned Ethan to be with another woman. That was the moment I knew she wasn't just reckless. She was dangerous. I booked a flight back to the US, but not to Portland. I flew to Boise, Idaho, where Gregory had an office. I stayed in Boise for 3 weeks. Gregory and I built the case piece by piece. He filed for separation on my behalf and immediately requested temporary custody of Ethan, citing Jessica's documented history of emotional instability and manipulation. My next move was set. Now I just had to execute it. We had included everything in the separation papers: the fake death post, the text messages, and all the calculated lies she had told her family. Jessica never saw it coming. The papers were served on a Thursday morning. She called me within minutes. I answered this time. "What the hell is this, Robert? You're suing me for custody." "Are you insane?" She screamed. "I am protecting my son," I stated calmly. "Protecting him from what?" "From me, I'm his mother." "You announced my death as a prank, Jessica. You lied to everyone who cares about me. You are unstable." She started screaming hysterically, and I could hear Ethan crying in the background. That sound tore at me, but I didn't let my voice falter. "You are going to regret this," she spat. "I will make sure you never see him again." She slammed the phone down. Gregory, my lawyer, had warned me she would retaliate. He was right. Within days, Jessica filed a counterclaim. She accused me of abandonment, emotional abuse, and infidelity. She claimed I had left her and Ethan without any financial support and that I was an unfit father. Her lawyer was aggressive, demanding full custody and child support. They painted me as a cowardly man who ran away when things got tough. Sitting in Gregory's office reading the documents, I felt a steady resolve even as the weight of it all pressed down on me. She was willing to destroy me to save herself. "Can she win?" I asked. "Not if we stay focused," Gregory replied. "But she is going to make this as painful as possible. You need to be ready for that." I was ready. The court scheduled a preliminary hearing for 2 months later. In the meantime, Jessica was granted temporary custody, and I was only allowed supervised visits once a week. It was torture seeing my son for just an hour at a time, knowing she was poisoning his mind with lies about me. During one visit, Ethan looked up at me with his big, confused eyes and asked, "Mom says you don't love us anymore. Why did you leave?" "I didn't leave you, buddy," I told him, holding him close. "I am still here. I am fighting to be with you." I couldn't let him see me break. Jessica didn't stop there. She went back to social media. sharing vague messages about betrayal and single motherhood. She posted pictures of Ethan with captions like, "Just the two of us now." People who didn't know the whole story rallied around her, calling me a deadbeat and an abandoning father. I wanted to fight back to shout the truth, but Gregory advised silence. "Let her dig her own grave," he said. "Every post she makes is evidence. Every lie she tells will come back to her." So I stayed silent. I let her think she was winning, all while I was planning, gathering, and building a case that would leave her with nothing. 3 weeks before the hearing, I received a message from someone unexpected, Kendra, a friend of Jessica's. She said she needed to talk to me. She had something I needed to see. We met at a Portland coffee shop. Kendra looked nervous as she handed me a folder. "I shouldn't be doing this," she whispered. "But you need to know what she's really like." Inside were screenshots, messages between Jessica and Kendra. Messages where Jessica bragged about the death prank, laughing about people's reactions and admitting she did it because she was bored and wanted attention. Even worse, there were messages where Jessica talked about manipulating the custody case, discussing coaching Ethan to say things about me that weren't true. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked, looking up. Kendra avoided my gaze. "Because I have a son too. If someone did to me what she did to you, I would want someone to help me." I thanked her and walked out, knowing I had just gained the undeniable upper hand. Gregory reviewed the messages and confirmed they were admissible. "This proves premeditation," he declared. "She didn't just make a mistake. She planned it, she enjoyed it, and now she's manipulating the custody case." We added the messages to our evidence. We subpoenaed Jessica's phone records and social media accounts. Digging deeper, we uncovered a years-long pattern. Staged fake breakups with ex-boyfriends, lies to friends for sympathy. Jessica had been doing this her entire adult life. I thought of all the times I had ignored the signs, brushing off her behavior as harmless. I had been blind, but I wasn't anymore. The hearing was a Friday morning. I flew back to Portland 2 days early and met with Gregory the night before. Our strategy was methodical. Present the Facebook post, the lies, Kendra's messages, and the pattern of manipulation. We would show the court that Jessica was not fit for primary custody. "Are you ready for this?" Gregory asked. "I have been ready since the day she posted that I was dead." In the cold, sterile courthouse, Jessica glared at me from across the room. I met her gaze without flinching. Her lawyer went first, painting her as a devoted mother abandoned by her husband. It was a well-delivered, convincing lie. Then it was our turn. Gregory stood and laid out the facts. The death post, the evidence of her manipulation, the screenshots from Kendra. Jessica's face went pale. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed the evidence. Kendra took the stand and calmly testified to the messages and the coaching. Then Gregory called me. I told the truth about the phone call from my mother, the grief my family endured, and the fear I felt for my son. Jessica's lawyer tried to twist my words, asking why I had stayed away so long. "Because I needed to protect myself," I said. "And I needed to protect my son from someone who sees other people's pain as entertainment." When the hearing ended, the judge reserved her decision for a week. The following Tuesday morning, Gregory called. "The judge ruled in your favor. You have primary custody." I sat down, unable to speak. "Jessica gets supervised visitation," he continued. The judge cited her history of manipulation and emotional abuse, calling the death prank a cruel and calculated act designed to inflict emotional harm. I closed my eyes as the immense weight lifted. That afternoon, I picked up Ethan from Jessica's house. She stood in the doorway, her face swollen and red, and didn't say a word as Ethan walked toward me. "Hey, buddy," I said, kneeling down. "Dad," he said, running into my arms. Jessica slammed the door behind us. I took Ethan back to my new apartment. It was small, but it was ours. I had set up his room with his favorite snacks and made it feel like a home. That night, I tucked him into bed. He looked up at me and asked, "Are you going to leave again?" "No," I said, my voice firm. "I am never leaving you again." He smiled, and for the first time in months, I truly felt like I could breathe. Jessica tried to fight the decision, filing an appeal and sending me angry messages, but no one was listening anymore. The truth was out. Her family distanced themselves, her friends stopped defending her, and she soon lost her job. She moved in with her mother and rarely saw Ethan. 3 years passed. Ethan was 8, thriving in school, playing soccer, and loving science. I stayed at Veltri Dynamics with a flexible schedule that let me be the father he needed. One evening, Ethan was leaning against me on the couch watching a movie. "I'm glad you didn't die, Dad," he said quietly. "Me too, buddy," I replied. 2 years after the custody ruling, Jessica tried to file for a modification, claiming she had turned her life around. We went back to court. The judge quickly reviewed her continued record of manipulation and denial. The judge denied her request in under 10 minutes. "This court sees no evidence of meaningful change," the judge stated. Custody remained with the father. Jessica stood up. "This is not fair. I am his mother." The judge looked at her unmoved. "You forfeited that privilege when you chose cruelty over compassion." Jessica faded from our lives completely after that. She stopped asking for visits and eventually moved out of state. Ethan is 10 now, smart, kind, and resilient. He rarely mentions her, having become a stranger to him. I look at him now and realize I won. Not because I destroyed her, but because I saved my son. Jessica wanted to see what loss felt like for everyone else. She wanted attention and to watch people grieve. In the end, she was the one who lost everything. And all I needed was the clarity to choose my son and never look back.